Grand Operational Simulation Series, or GOS. Basic rules. Breakdown unit proficiency. Unless stated otherwise in scenario rules, the standard PR ratings for breakdown units are as follows. German 126 Leg Infantry Companies 4-5. All other German Leg Companies 5-6. German Mech Companies 6-6. All Allied Companies 5-6. Note, other Axis nationalities and Allied national exceptions will be covered in scenario rules. Designer's note. Players may track which units break down and which breakdown companies were created by those units. If this is done, breakdown companies retain the PR ratings of their parent units. In this case, breakdown companies can only be reformed back into units with the same or lower PR ratings. Green divisions. Historically, many formations new to combat did not initially perform well during their introduction to combat. There are 3 levels of training in the game: Green 1, Green 2, and Veteran. That's interesting. Independent core army asset units, including armored cavalry groups, ARMCAV groups, are not affected by this rule. All units subordinate to a Green 2 formation suffer 2 unfavorable column shifts when attacking and 1 when defending. All units subordinate to a Green 1 formation suffer 1 unfavorable column shift when attacking or defending. Green 1 and 2 units may not be attached to a formation that is in a Green 1 or 2 status, but may be attached to a Veteran formation. While attached to another formation, the units suffer the unfavorable column shifts even if stacked with Veteran units. Green 1 and 2 U.S. armored formations may not operate as a formation until at least 2 combat commands, CC, subordinate to the formation, have gained Veteran status. Each combat command can include division support units, must operate as an independent subformation. They may be attached to a Veteran formation as above. If Veteran units, including those units listed in the first bullet, are attached to a Green formation, they suffer the same penalties as the Green units. Scenario rules will outline which formations are considered Green and any additional special effects that may occur. This may incur. Green division checks. A Green formation can increase its status by 2 subordinate subformations achieving a higher level of experience, that is, Green 2 to Green 1 or Green 1 to Veteran. Subformations change status when at least 2 battalions eligible to contribute towards RIBs and are subordinate to the same subformation participate in the same successful offensive GA. The GA is considered successful if the defending unit suffered more total hits, mandatory and discretionary, than the attacking units. Immediately after the completion of the GA, roll 1d10. If the result is greater than 3, the subformation gains 1 level of experience. If the formation has an active divisional leader, apply a +1 DRM. The leader can be anywhere on the map. A subformation can conduct this check after each successful GA. However, each subformation can only increase its experience by 1 level per game day, per GD. Once at least 2 subformations, regiment or combat command, gain a level of experience, the entire formation moves up 1 level. That is, from Green 2 to Green 1, etc. Special units and formations. German Panzer Battalions. Some games have generic Panzer battalions available to the Germans. These battalions are type-specific, representing 1 type of Panzer. The German player may remove 3 steps of pure armor that are all of the same type as the Panzer battalion and substitute them with 1 battalion counter of the same type. Once the battalion counter is on the map, it functions with the combined strength of all 3 Panzer company and the PR ratings of any 1 company it replaced. It is considered to be a normal 3-step battalion. If a Panzer battalion suffers a step loss, one of the off-map Panzer companies must lose a step. Note that it could be flipped to its Z-step side if it has one. 2 Z-step Panzer units are equal to 1 company, so if the battalion suffered 2 step losses and each unit had a zero-step side, the German player could recombine the two Z-step units into one full-strength company. The Axis player never has to divulge how many units or the actual strength of that battalion to the Allied side until the unit attacks or is attacked. Axis players should keep track of the units assigned to the battalion on paper or in a makeshift holding box. Flak regiments. Unless scenario rules dictate otherwise, follow the below procedures when Luftwaffe flak regiments are present. Each regiment contains a variable number of companies that consist of motorized 88mm flak guns. The 20 and 37mm guns have been abstracted within the units. Each regiment counts as an independent BG for both fuel and ADV purposes. Each company may be broken down into two Z-step 88mm flak units. Companies are back-printed with one of the Z-step units. Company units of these formations also have a limited ability to conduct FS missions. Companies may be attached to formations. There is no restriction on how many may be detached from each regiment. Note, it is to the advantage of the Axis side to attach these units to individual formations as soon as possible to avoid multi-formation GA penalties and the additional fuel required to move them around. Rear echelon units. Each game outlines which units are considered rear echelon RE units. RE units may not break down, receive REPs, and may not be resurrected if eliminated. When recycling step losses, do not count step losses from RE units. German Navalwerfer brigades. Navalwerfer brigades are treated as Army Corps artillery assets. Individual units of these brigades may not be attached to a formation or subformation. Note, some of these units are considered self-propelled. See the counters. Kangaroos. Some games are provided with kangaroo transport units. Each kangaroo unit may transport one infantry battalion or company. All rules pertaining to mounting and dismounting are in effect with the following exceptions. Use of kangaroos does not reduce the Allied divisional organic transport capability. Units mounted in kangaroos are considered mech units for all purposes and are treated as if they were pure armor units. Rangers and Commandos. Throughout the rules, the term commando will be used for U.S. Ranger, German Brandenburger, and Commonwealth commando units. Commandos have the following capabilities and restrictions. Commandos may ignore movement halts due to the presence of adjacent enemy units. Roll 1d10, and if the result is a 0 to 4, they may ignore the movement halt in that hex. They may make this attempt in every hex that requires a movement halt. Commandos may not be selected as the lead unit in a GA unless the hex being attacked contains a fort, is a fortified area hex, or is a special objective detailed in scenario rules. No more than one commando may be attached to any one division. See 13.7.2 Echo for special engineering capabilities. Engineer tanks. AFV units with special engineering functions have the following capabilities. They are considered pure AFV units for all purposes. Each step is the equivalent of one step of combat engineers for ground assault purposes. They do not possess construction engineer capabilities. In some games, there are engineer tanks identified as flame tanks. These units have an F in place of their offensive combat strength. These units may be part of an offensive GA, but do not contribute to the total strength of the attacking force. Commonwealth Recon Battalions. These battalions are subject to the following restrictions. If alone in a hex, they cannot conduct any type of offensive GA unless the only unit in the hex is a Z-step unit. If stacked with other units, they cannot be the lead unit. Unless they are the only unit in a hex with armor or AT factors, they cannot be used to determine offensive or defensive armor AT bonuses. Designer's note. Commonwealth Recon units were used as a light screening and reconnaissance force. They were not normally used as spearheads of an assault or in heavy defensive battles. Unit modes. A military forces organization to accomplish different tasks is represented by the mode a player chooses for it during a friendly mode determination phase. Each mode is suited for different activities. Some combine movement and combat functions in a flexible manner, while others sacrifice mobility for greater combat power. This forces a degree of planning upon the players. Most of the time, the mode chosen for a unit may not be changed voluntarily until the next game turn. Exceptions include leaving MR mode or when adjusting attacker status. There are several events that may force an involuntary change of mode. Units cannot be in more than one mode at a time. A unit is not required to stay in the same mode from turn to turn. Tactical mode. Tactical mode is the most flexible in terms of maneuver and combat. A unit without a mode marker is in tactical mode. Units will be in tactical mode most of the time. Units that are in tactical mode may use road movement, and tactical movement. A unit may only move using one of these three forms of movement in a single phase. Units in a tactical mode cannot participate in multi-hex ground assaults and may never advance more than one hex after combat. Units in tactical mode may be attack designated during the attack designation segment of the combat phase. Other functions. A unit must be in tactical mode to perform the following functions: break down into component companies or reform into its original unit, be designated combat reserve, reduce its fatigue by 1 level. Engineer units may assist other units in crossing stream or streams. Note: engineer units may also assist other units in crossing streams and rivers while in PA mode. Perform any kind of construction task, including bridge demolition. Receive replacements.